Deep in the Cotswolds valleys of Gloucestershire stands Woodchester Mansion, a Gothic masterpiece frozen in time since 1873. William Lee, a devout Catholic, commissioned this grand estate to replace his family's Georgian home. He hired architect Benjamin Bucknall to create a French Gothic revival palace with over 200 rooms. But construction stopped abruptly, leaving tools scattered, staircases incomplete, and stone blocks abandoned mid-carving. Workers claimed they heard whispers in empty corridors and saw shadowy figures watching from unfinished windows. Some fled the site, refusing to return. Lee's obsession with perfection became his downfall. He demanded changes constantly, draining his fortune. Local legends say the land itself rejected the mansion, built over ancient burial grounds where plague victims were buried in mass graves during the Black Death, their restless spirits cursing anyone who disturbed their eternal sleep. The most terrifying entity haunting Woodchester is a hooded monk who glides through the mansion's skeletal framework. Witnesses describe him as faceless, with only darkness beneath his cowl. He appears in the chapel area, where Lee planned to build a private place of worship. The monk's presence brings overwhelming dread and sudden temperature drops. Some believe he's a medieval friar who once tended a monastery that stood on these grounds centuries ago. Others claim he's a demonic entity attracted by Lee's fanatical religious devotion. Security guards hired to watch the property have resigned after encountering him. One guard reported the monk approaching him slowly, making no sound despite walking on gravel. When the guard shone his flashlight directly at the figure, it vanished instantly, leaving behind the smell of incense and decay. The monk appears most frequently on religious holidays, as if mocking the mansion's uncompleted sacred spaces. Investigators and visitors consistently report hearing children's laughter and crying echoing through the empty halls, especially near the planned nursery wing. These aren't joyful sounds. They carry an edge of distress and fear. Some researchers believe these are echoes from the Victorian era, when child laborers worked on the construction site. In those days, young children were employed in dangerous conditions, crawling through tight spaces and carrying heavy materials. Several supposedly died on site from accidents, crushed by falling stones or plummeting from scaffolding. Their bodies were allegedly buried quickly to avoid scandal and work stoppages. Paranormal teams have recorded EVP, electronic voice phenomena, capturing children's voices saying, "Help us," and "It hurts." One chilling recording caught a young girl's voice asking, "When can we go home?" During investigations, balls placed in empty rooms have been found rolled to different locations, and small handprints appear in dust-covered surfaces overnight. Benjamin Bucknall, the mansion's brilliant but tortured architect, died in 1895, but his spirit reportedly remains trapped in his creation. Visitors describe encountering a well-dressed Victorian gentleman in the drawing rooms, studying the walls intensely with measuring instruments that vanish when approached. Bucknall was a perfectionist who traveled to France multiple times to study Gothic architecture, obsessed with recreating authentic medieval craftsmanship. The stress of Lee's constant demands and the project's eventual abandonment allegedly drove him to depression. Witnesses report seeing him reenacting his suicide. Historical records are unclear about his death, but local legend insists he hanged himself in despair over his unfinished masterpiece. His ghost appears frustrated and angry, sometimes throwing phantom objects across rooms. Paranormal investigators have captured photographs showing a translucent figure hunched over architectural plans on tables where nothing physical exists. His presence intensifies near the incomplete grand staircase, his greatest unfulfilled design. The mansion's basement is considered the most dangerous area, where even experienced ghost hunters refuse to venture alone. The subterranean chambers were designed as storage and servants' quarters, but remain primitive stone caverns. Here, people report being physically attacked, pushed, scratched, and grabbed by invisible hands. The overwhelming feeling of being unwanted grows stronger with every step downward. Some believe these lower levels connect to older structures, possibly Roman ruins or medieval dungeons. Psychic mediums claim to sense residual energy from torture and death, though no historical evidence confirms such activities. Several investigators have fled the basement in terror, reporting being chased by something they couldn't see but could hear breathing heavily behind them. Temperature readings show inexplicable cold spots that move independently. One team captured thermal footage showing a human-shaped heat signature approaching their equipment before their cameras suddenly malfunctioned simultaneously. The basement door has been found locked from inside, despite being confirmed empty moments before. During construction, mysterious disappearances plagued the site. Workers would arrive in the morning to find colleagues missing, their tools abandoned mid-task. While some attributed these vanishings to laborers simply abandoning the cursed project, darker rumors persisted. Local archives mention at least 7 workers who were never seen again after entering the mansion. Their families searched desperately, but no bodies were ever recovered. Some believe they stumbled upon something unholy in the building's depths, perhaps disturbing the ancient burial ground or encountering entities that didn't want the construction to continue. Modern investigators claim to hear male voices arguing violently in areas where no one is present, possibly echoes of the disappeared workers' final moments. One paranormal team recorded heavy footsteps running through the building, accompanied by terrified shouting in what sounded like multiple voices, before everything went silent. The most disturbing theory suggests the mansion itself consumed these men, absorbing their life force to sustain the malevolent energies within its walls. A female apparition in a white Victorian gown haunts the upper floors, particularly near what would have been the master bedroom. Unlike the aggressive entities elsewhere, she appears sad and searching, drifting through walls as if looking for someone. Witnesses describe her as young and beautiful, with long dark hair and hollow, crying eyes. Local legend identifies her as William Lee's daughter, who fell in love with a worker, a relationship forbidden due to class differences. When her father discovered the affair, he allegedly had the young man killed and thrown into the mansion's foundations. Heartbroken, she took her own life by jumping from the incomplete tower. Her ghost eternally searches for her lost love, occasionally appearing at windows visible from the grounds below. Some visitors report feeling overwhelming sadness and hearing a woman sobbing when alone in certain rooms. She's considered a benign presence, but her grief is so intense that sensitive individuals often flee, unable to bear the emotional weight of her eternal mourning. Woodchester Mansion has become a magnet for paranormal researchers, ranking among Britain's most haunted locations. Multiple television shows have filmed there, with crews experiencing unexplained phenomena. During a 2003 investigation, cameras captured a shadowy mass moving independently through hallways, changing direction as if consciously avoiding detection. Electronic equipment consistently malfunctions inside. Fully charged batteries drain within minutes. Cameras stop recording without explanation, and audio equipment picks up voices speaking languages that predate modern English. One team conducted a seance in the chapel area and claimed to contact William Lee himself, who allegedly communicated through a medium, expressing regret and warning them to leave before they arrive. When asked who they were, objects began flying across the room, and the session ended in chaos. Investigators using EMF detectors have recorded massive spikes in electromagnetic fields that move through the building in intelligent patterns. The most compelling evidence comes from multiple independent sources reporting identical experiences: the monk, the children, the lady, and the overwhelming sense of being watched by something ancient and malevolent. Even today, Woodchester refuses to rest. Security systems installed to protect the historic site malfunction regularly, capturing footage of doors opening by themselves and lights turning on in areas without electricity. Restoration attempts have been plagued by accidents and setbacks. Workers report tools vanishing and reappearing in impossible locations. Work completed one day, found undone the next morning, as if the mansion resists completion even now, 150 years later. Local residents avoid the area after dark, and even skeptics admit to feeling uneasy near the property. In 2019, a couple exploring the grounds saw multiple figures in Victorian clothing standing at windows watching them. When they returned with police, the building was empty, but wet footprints were found throughout the interior despite days of dry weather. Photographs taken at Woodchester frequently show orbs, mists, and unexplained figures that weren't visible when the pictures were taken. The mansion seems more active than ever, as if the spirits have grown stronger with time, feeding on the attention and fear of modern visitors. Woodchester Mansion stands as a monument to ambition corrupted by darkness. William Lee died in 1873, never seeing his dream completed. The property passed through various owners, all attempting and failing to finish the construction. Some went bankrupt, others simply abandoned the project, claiming the house didn't want to be completed. Preservation societies now maintain the site as a historical curiosity, but strange incidents continue. The mansion has become a portal between worlds, a place where past and present blur. Visitors leave flowers for the lady in white, hoping to ease her suffering. Paranormal enthusiasts hold vigils, seeking contact with the other side. But Woodchester keeps its darkest secrets. Perhaps the unfinished walls and exposed stonework serve as cages, containing something that should never be released. The most terrifying possibility isn't that the mansion is haunted. It's that completion would unleash whatever has been trapped there for over a century, waiting in the shadows of England's most beautifully cursed house.